right, guys, good morning. Let's lower this a little bit. I wonder why the energy in the room is a little low. Anyone else go and close out that cowboy dance hall last night? Yeah. That was awesome, wasn't it? Cool. I am so pumped to be here today. I've been loving the conference so far. Who here, like, first day, you were like, yup, that was worth my money tenfold. Amazing. Such a great conference. I'm super pumped. I'm so excited to give this talk today. I'm going to start it off with a couple fun facts. Did you know, this doesn't bend, I guess. I'm like trying to get this out of my face. There we go. Did you guys know that in the year of 2019, 53 Flatware orders were sold every single day? It's pretty badass. That's 19,612 Flatware orders, equaling 7.1 million in Flatware orders last year. It's pretty hot. Guys, people are loving our Flatware. Another fun fact, anyone here know why we call it Flatware? Not one hand. That's what I thought. It might kind of make sense, right? But so I looked it up because I had no idea. I was like, that would be kind of cool to know if a customer asked, right? It's not the coolest answer, but it's still good to know. The reason spoons and forks are called flatware, because back in the mid-1900s, they used to use that term to distinguish flatware from hollowware, which was a term for pots, pans, anything that was hollow. Fun fact. That'll help you close some flatware chests right there. Yeah. Well, guys, I'm going to dive in here. I was so happy to give this message. I was thinking about it. Flatware is really my most favorite thing to sell. And you guys probably know why, but I actually think it's the prettiest thing we sell. Okay? I think it's the easiest thing that we sell. And if you really think about it, it's the most practical thing we sell. Out of everything that we offer, pots, pans, kitchen knives, gadgets, spoons, forks, what are you using most often, whether you cook or not? Spoons and forks, right? So it really is the most practical thing we sell. I also love that it's the most discounted thing we sell. Guys, Cutco set it up for us to create that urgency. It's $700 off already, off the retail value. That's amazing. It's so easy to promote that, right? This is a limited time. We don't know when Cutco's going to stop offering that, right? I think it's the quickest thing to sell too. I gave this talk, well, not this talk. I gave a Flatware talk a couple years ago. I think it was RDC or boot camp or one of those things. And obviously, over the years, I've adjusted my approach, learned from other top reps as well, and added some stuff in. Totally rewrote this talk, but there's 3 things that stuck out from that last talk that I still live by, so I'm going to start with those, okay? And those are my 3 rules. I'm going to start with my 3 rules of selling Flatware. Then I'm going to dig into the approach and dissect it a little bit with you guys. I have a handout for that, which will come around at the end. I literally typed out my whole approach for you guys, so hope that'll work. That'll help. You're welcome. Cool. So let's get started. So we're going to start with the basics, and these are my 3 rules to selling Flatware. First rule is you got to show it. Second rule is you got to use it. Third rule, you got to know it. So you got to show it, you got to use it, you got to know it. All right? So rule number 1, show it. Seems obvious, right? But you guys really got to think about it. Don't be lazy about it. Don't just show the picture, right? When you start selling Cutco, you get a sample kit of knives, right? And why is that? It's to show it to your customers, right? Having the product helps you sell so much. It's so much easier when you have the product, especially if you don't feel 100% confident yet. And when I say 100% confident, I mean like close this in your sleep kind of confident. Right? If you don't feel like you could master this approach and close this in your sleep, you need to have the product to show. But even the representatives that do feel 100% confident, we still have the display. We still show it. And the reason why is why not? Why not set yourself up for success, right? You always want to be setting yourself up for the best case scenario. One thing you always got to do too is check in yourself. Are you using your time wisely? So you can sell Flatware without it, but it takes a lot longer, right? So have the display. It's making sure you're most efficient with your time. Buy yourself the flatware. If you already have one setting, get another setting. If you already have 6 settings, get the other 6, right? You're eventually going to want the full package. You want the 12 settings. You want the chest. You want the 6-piece accessories. You want the nameplate, which I'll dive into later. You got to get the nameplate for your flatware too. Part of showing it is making sure it looks good, right? You guys have all seen the nasty chests that get all dusty and gross, the flatware that gets a little scratched because you don't take care of it. Wrap them up individually so the steel isn't hitting each other. Make sure your chest is wrapped up so it doesn't get all nicked up. Part of my show kit is a lint roller. So every show, I get out the lint roller, get all the dust, all the dirt out of the chest, make it look good. Eventually your chest will get beat up and you're going to want to get a new one, which is fine. Don't throw it out. Use your old chest, you probably heard that from Kareem last year, to elevate the new chest. 1, because it looks badass, but 2, because you can be like, that's our 24-piece package, right? It's not just so it looks pretty. It's just another selling point. Until then, just elevate it with something else, cutting boards, shelving, whatever you got to do. I also bought a light. It's super dark up here, by the way, isn't it? Like from yesterday, speaking of light. I have a desk light that I have shining right on my flatware to make it stand, make it pop. Always be polishing. The flatware gets dusty and fingerprinted. Make sure you keep it clean. Get the nameplate and get like a nice plate or table, what is that called? Placemat for their 6-piece accessories. Don't just have it on your tablecloth. Guys, you're selling something that is expensive. Be proud of that, but you got to make it look expensive, right? What I also did is I printed out just an American-made little sign and got it laminated. That's in my flatware chest too. That's money. I have that everywhere, next to the cookware, next to the knives, in my flatware chest. When it's mall season, wrap that sucker up in a bow. Guys, make it look like expensive. Make it look great. Flatware is also one of those things customers really like to feel in their hand. You guys know the #1 objection if you don't have the flatware is, I really wish I could have just felt the weight of it, right? That is something that customers really like to feel, you know? Obviously, you can sell it without it. You could go off the 15-day trial. You'll be able to feel it at home. But guys, again, you want to set yourself up for the best case scenario, right? Now, the most important part of rule #1, okay? You need to make sure every single customer actually feels the flatware. It is not enough to just have it on the table, all right? If you're going to make the investment to buy it, you got to use it. Make sure their customers are picking it up every single time. And I don't care if they just came up asking for sharpening. I don't care if they just bought a homemaker. I don't care if they just bought 5 homemakers from the family program. Every single customer needs to feel the flatware. Okay, on to #2. Rule #2 is a little easier. It's use it. You guys got to use the flatware. It sounds so silly, and you guys hear it for everything, but you have to use it. I'm sure Seth will say that with cookware. You have to use the cookware. It makes it so much easier to sell. You know? You think about it. Like bartenders, if you're a bartender, I'm sure you drink or like have had drinks before because people ask you for recommendations, right? If you're a car salesman, I'm sure you've driven before. Can you imagine buying a car from someone that's never drove a car? I'm not saying it's impossible. It's not the smartest thing. It's a lot harder for them. You know, you want to make sure you can relate to your customers. You want to experience what your customers would be experiencing. So the same thing is with Cutco. You got to use your personal stories. It helps when your customers can relate to you. It kind of puts that wall down of you being a salesperson to like looking like a real person. So use that flatware. So rule #3, probably the most important rule. You got to know it, right? So show it, use it, now we're on to know it. You can show the flatware all you want, and you can use it every day for yourself. But if you don't know what you're talking about and you don't know your pitch, none of that matters, right? Just like in training, you all took the time to memorize your approaches. Guys, take the time to memorize your flatware approach. And not just memorize it, like master it. Like I said earlier, you want to be able to close this in your sleep. Take the time to know the facts. You guys know the flatware is American made, guaranteed forever, 1810 stainless, we all know that. Anyone know what the 1810 means? Maybe? No? Everyone's still tired? Yes, chrome and nickel. So the 18 stands for the chrome, the 10 is the % referring to the nickel content. You guys want to know that because a customer might ask, what does that mean? That's not a selling point that I go off and tell people that, but you should know it. Do you guys have your elevator pitch down? That was something Kareem talked about last year too. You guys know what elevator pitch is, right? You want to be able to be in an elevator with someone and pitch a product that quickly to that person before you get off the elevator. Do you guys have that elevator pitch down? Not just for flatware, but for everything. Cookware, business gifts, wellness mats, knives, everything. Every single element of our business, you should have that elevator pitch down. Basically, what my elevator pitch is, I just talk about it like, so Mrs. Jones, this is our newest addition to the Cutco product line. It's so pretty and so elegant, super high quality, but very low maintenance. Perfect for everyday use. It's American-made, forever guaranteed like our knives, a timeless collection that will be in your family for generations. So you just got to hit the best points about it, right? Quick 10 seconds. So there are the rules you need to live by. you gotta know it, you gotta show it, and you gotta use it. Now I really want to dive into like the approach because there's a lot of psychology behind the approach, right? You gotta make sure first, you gotta pre-frame everything. I got a lot of questions like that at the Flatware roundtable last night. You know, how to handle these objections. You guys all know how to handle the objections, right? You gotta handle them before they come up. That's all about the pre-framing. After that, you dive into your pitch, right? Which is like the solution. And then you close the order. So before diving into your pitch, you need to state the problem, which is really the pre-framing, okay? This is really what's similar. Oh, there we go. Get darker or lighter? I'm not sure. Okay, so this is the part where you want to get that emotional connection with your customer. So before you really dive into the approach, you need to do the pre-framing. You need to think about the blue book, too. Think about the way it's set up. This is like your junk knife page, okay? It's the reason you talk about the junk knife page before the features and benefits. Same thing with the flatware, right? Make that emotional connection with your customer. You want to start listing off scenarios that might trigger your customer that they can connect with, right? Most people have a mismatched set of spoons and forks, usually because you got the hand-me-down set and needed to buy some replacements and can never find anything to match. Or, when you guys started out, you just bought a cheap set to get by, break, get spotty from the dishwasher. And guys, as you're listing off all the scenarios, you want to watch your customer. What is connecting with them? If it's the first thing you said, great, move on. If not, you just keep listing stuff. Now, Mrs. Jones, this is not your great-grandmom's type of flatware. This is not silver. It's the quality of silver, but not the high maintenance. People love that. Because when people hear silver, they think, oh, that's so expensive, such high quality. So you want to relate the good stuff from silver, right? The positive things they think about. But it's not the high maintenance. That's obviously the key point. I know everyone has that silver set that they got passed down, but no one ever uses that, right? And every single time, customers agree. So once you state the problem, you do a little pre-framing, get them to relate, and really get them to think about what's in their kitchen. If you guys just dive right in, I used to do this like a couple years ago. I would just dive in, be like, yeah, we have cookware, knives, flatware. What's your flatware situation like? Oh, it's fine, right? You guys ever get that? It's fine. Because they didn't have a chance to think about what's in their kitchen. So don't skip that part. Make sure you're doing the pre-framing. Get them to relate, get them to have that emotional connection. So now diving into the solution. So my booth is a kitchen. It's just the sets, the flatware and the cookware, and then my business gift section. When I go into the flatware pitch, I put my hand on the chest. So I'm like, focus is just on the flatware, okay? I think the handouts just came around. Does everyone have a handout? Ish. Maybe a couple more handouts. Do we have a couple more? Yeah. Bless you. So before I dive in, I just touched on this, but I want you guys to really think about this because Cutco spent millions of dollars figuring out the structure of how we sell Cutco, right? Like, it hasn't changed because it works. So think about the Blue Book and how it's set up for the knives, you know? So you see the trend. I just went from the junk page, then I went to the features and benefit page, then you're gonna go into the price comparison, then you're gonna go into close. Everything we sell, it really is that same structure, not even just Cutco, anything, you know? So keep that in mind. Make sure you're not skipping any of those steps. Imagine just opening your Blue Book and just jumping to the price, or just jumping to features and benefits. It's not gonna work as well. So go through the process, it works. Okay, so I am gonna dive in with my approach. I typed it all out for you guys. I'm gonna read along with you just to go through it all. And then after that, because this is, obviously you guys know, especially at a booth, not everything always goes as planned. So there's a couple other scenarios, so I'll go over those after that. But I'm gonna read along with you now. So here is my Cutco flatware approach. Mrs. Jones, here is our new stainless steel flatware collection. Customers have been requesting it for years, and it's finally here. It's literally my favorite thing we sell. It's proudly made in the USA, like our knives, which is super rare nowadays, unfortunately. You can't find that anymore since most companies have went overseas. I know a lot of people have their great-grandmom's hand-me-down silver or mismatched different style patterns. What's nice with Cutco, it's designed for everyday wear, and it's still so beautiful, you want to use them for every day and holidays and entertaining. Best part is, it's still guaranteed like everything else we make. So if it bends, breaks, or anything is wrong with it, no problem. You just send it back, we replace it for you. Just so you know, this is fully polished 1810 stainless, which is really the best you can get. Because of that, it's dishwasher safe. It will not tarnish like silver. It's very modern, perfectly weighted, and timeless. This will never go out of style. My favorite part is because it's so pretty and durable, I can use it for every day as well as for my holidays and get-togethers. This flatware, Mrs. Jones, is a one-and-done purchase. You will never need to buy flatware ever again, and you'll find yourself passing these down to your kids and grandkids because the guarantee never goes away. What's crazy, Mrs. Jones, I've never seen anything so discounted through Cutco. So this is kind of where I do the price comparison. I don't personally have like a printed out sheet for it. I just talk about other 1810 and how place settings are like $200 to $300 a place setting. Have you ever priced out high quality flatware before? One thing, by the way, that I added, which is a fun little joke, Mrs. Jones, have you ever priced out high quality 1810 stainless steel flatware that's made in America and guaranteed forever? And they're like, oh no, nope, because we're the only ones that do that. And just like make a little fun joke with them. But just so you know what other flatware costs, you can easily find comparable 1810 flatware for $200 to $300 a place setting, which is not too bad because 1810 is pretty expensive. But since we are made here in America, you're not going to have to pay anything extra for it to be shipped overseas. It's made in New York and shipped to your door. Plus, there's no middleman since we don't sell in stores. It's all factory direct. So we don't have to sell it at such a high price. Our package with the 12 settings normally price out for whatever number you want to use. I use the full retail, the $24.59, flatware plus 6-piece. Let that number settle in there for a little bit. Don't just bang out numbers like all in a row because it gets confusing. But we actually do have our package price discount down to only $17.38. And just most of you guys know what that is, but that's just the $14.59 plus a 6-piece accessory package, right? Now that number is going to let that number settle in. Now this includes 12 settings. It includes the chest. It includes the 6-piece accessory set. You get everything. And I'm like waving around. You get all of this, right? Remember, this purchase today will be something that will stay in your generations for years to come. Never goes away. Always guaranteed. You can actually split this total up as well. No one really ever pays in full since there is no financing or interest involved. This will only come out to $380 a month. Oh, by the way, I almost forgot. I also like to buy my customers this really pretty silver plate and engrave it with your family name. We put it right on the back of the chest. That way when you're ready to pass it down, it has the date and it has your family name on there. It looks really nice and it personalizes it. Okay, so the way it would work, if you want to go ahead and do this, you put the $380 down today on whatever card you like to use. We ship you everything for free, takes about a week. and then just 4 more months of that 380 will come off automatically, so it's no bill, nothing you have to worry about, and then you're done. Then you have your forever American-made flatware. Sound good? You just give them the high five close if you like that high five close. Boom. Got it. And I wrote at the bottom just because you really have to believe in the product and yourself. For me, I think mindset has always been super big. Like once I started realizing that people were dropping like 10 grand packages and $10,000 orders, that's where I went from selling like maybe like 5 flatware chests a month to maybe like 10 or more. And that was because I just had the confidence in myself knowing that every customer that I sit down with could spend $10,000 with me right now. And you guys have to change that mindset if you don't think that's true now. One thing I was sharing at the roundtable, that when I started coaching with Kareem a couple years ago, and when I went into our first coaching call, he was asking about averages and stuff. And my average was pretty solid. It was like the highest in the Northeast at the time, and it was like 4,800 per shift like a couple years ago. And I'm like, I was pretty proud of that. And I go into the call, and he asked, and I'm like, he's going to be so impressed. And I'm like, yeah, it's 4,800 per shift. He goes, wow, we got to work on that. I was like, oh, shit, okay. And guys, that just opened my mind. I was like looking, you can't just look at what's right in front of you. Don't just look at your division. Don't just look at your region. Look at what other people are doing. So once I thought that, I doubled my average per shift. Like once you know it's possible, you just think so much bigger. So think about that when you're closing flatware. A couple people yesterday were like, how can you like really tell them to spend $1,400 on flatware? It's so expensive. And it's like, oh man, it's just that's all you. That's your mental mind shift. So make that shift if you're not there yet. Okay, so we got that flatware approach down. So a couple other things. I got a couple more minutes here that I want to dive in for you. One thing, so at the booth, you know how things get a little crazy sometimes. Sometimes you're doing the pitch off the bat. This is the Cutco kitchen, knives, flatware, cookware. Sometimes they walk right up to the flatware and you sell the flatware first. Sometimes you sell a Siggy first and then you upsell the flatware. There's so many different scenarios, right? But before I go into that, one thing that I wanted to add to the approach, but I already sent the handout in. If you feel, I think Brandon said the other day, if you don't feel like your customer is going to say 100% like, yes, let's do this, don't ask yet. And that's huge. Like, you got to really read the situation, read your customer, read the body language. So if you get that vibe that they are not 100% all in, 2 questions easy to ask, right? So if you were going to buy this, would it be that 12 place setting? Would that be enough for you guys? So you're going to start asking those yes questions, right? Also ask, would you split this up over 5 months? Do you like that idea, or would you just pay in full? Start reading them out a little bit, So that way, when you get those questions answered, it gets you to get the real answer. Like if they're like, oh, definitely 5 months. If like, oh, no, I pay in full. It gets you to read the situation a little bit and what would be holding them back. Side note, you guys know this. I'm sure it was said a million times already. But if someone's paying in full for anything more than $500, right? If they're selling a signature set and they're paying in full, you should be selling that person a kitchen, like hands down. If they're dropping $2 grand right now, why can't they do it 4 more times, right? So there's a little side note there. Okay, oops, here we go. So going back to the different kind of scenarios, right? So you guys probably know this, but most of the time with flatware, when you're selling flatware at the booth, they probably already own the set, right? And they came to see like what's new. That's I would say like 60% of the time. Then there's the time where you're selling a set and you're bundling it with the flatware. That's probably the second most common. And then after that, it's probably people that just walk up like, I really need nice flatware, I never heard of Cutco, and they buy it that way too. But also upselling, right? So if you already sold them on the homemaker and you're building the wish list, you want to let them know that we do the package pricing if you haven't told them yet. Guys, bundling everything. I'm sure, like with Luke's talk today, talking about the packages, you got to make sure you promote bundling. Obviously, this is where you get the max discounts. I don't know if Meg's in the room, but one of her things, is Meg in the room? Sylvia? No? She went from 90 grand in 2018 to 290 last year. So she had a 200% growth, 200 grand growth too. And one of the things she focuses on is selling chrome makers with the flatware, right? Talk about the savings, talk about the bundles, talk about having the stainless steel table knives in the bottom of the homemaker. Have a homemaker that has stainless steel table knives at the bottom, right? When a customer walks right up and shows interest in the flatware, don't just start talking about the knives because that's what you know how to talk about. I watched so many reps do that. They'll be like, oh, tell me about this cookware. I didn't know you sold cookware. I'm like, oh yeah, it's great. It's American made. And do you have the knives already? Like they just go to what they feel comfortable with. So make sure that you guys, when they come up and start talking about flatware, I've actually been looking for flatware, close the flatware. Don't start diving into everything else. Guys, like Josh said it, I think, credit card game. It is, what's the quickest way to get that credit card? And that is selling them on what they're most interested in first. So if they're most interested in the flatware, close that first. Then upsell the knives, then upsell the cookware, right? Things don't always go as practiced or planned, but if you guys know your scripts like the back of your hand, you'll be able to hit the points. And it doesn't matter if it's out of order. As long as you hit the key points, it's fine. Okay, so I know I'm kind of out of time here. I'm going to wrap this up. What are the 3 rules, guys? It's show it, use it, know it. Make sure every single customer feels the flatware. Keep it clean, make it look very expensive, and you guys got to use it for yourself. Make sure you get your approaches down. Don't get lazy. Make sure you're always pre-framing and not skipping the price comparison. Thank you guys for your time.